Hello, how is everybody doing today? All five of my people watching, three of my people. Thank you for joining. T1, we haven't seen T1 for quite some time. So we have T1 and Jack. Jack, I know you're not feeling well, so I really do appreciate you coming in and saying hello, even if you can't stay for very long. And Neverly, my West Coast homie. Thank you for popping in, and you're probably working, so you're probably just listening. Um, but with T1 in the house and Jack in the house and Neverly in the house, who's going to be like keeping you guys all tame and under control? Because that could be a problem. I know you guys. So, oh, Dark Side. Hey, Dark Side. Thank you for being here. I appreciate having extra people. It's nice. Um, so I don't have Cherie yet. I'm not sure what time she gets home. And I know yesterday when we were live, she was driving home in a horrible snowstorm. So she was able to listen, but she couldn't join us on the panel, and that's okay. Um, and I don't know. I don't want to tell personal information, but Alice won't be with us tonight either. So it's just going to be how many of us? Four of us. It's going to be great. We're going to have a good time. Um, so since I'm by myself, I will do my very best to um, keep my eye on the chat and answering questions as I'm chatting along here, giving you some interesting information. And I know that we discussed this, back in March when it happened, the end of March. I'm really sorry. I keep having to take gulps of water. But, and not really a lot has happened as far as Henderson is concerned, but there have been a few articles that have come up in the paper, the local papers, and then AP picked up an article as well. And so, there's been a little bit of movement. Hey, TTM fangirl Donna. Hey, thanks you guys. I'm so happy that you're able to make it. Um, and so there, I don't want to say movement in Henderson's case necessarily, but some folks who are some convicted murderers who are now, of course. Hi, Jamie. Um, I know he's been away. Yeah, we didn't know either. Or at least I didn't know T1 was still alive. He's been MIA for quite a while. So yeah, we're happy to have him. But Mose, how are you doing? Gosh, a few minutes ago I had just me and T1, and now I have look at everybody that's here. Thank you so much. Um, so there have, as we kind of suspected or assumed was going to happen, just about as quickly as um, Henderson resigned or was forced to resign, we people started convicts or people in prison started looking at their cases that Henderson had presided over and who had sentenced them, and they started looking at the meat and potatoes of their cases and started thinking, hey, um, he was doing this alleged sexual misconduct or committing these alleged serious sexual assaults. At the same time, he was presiding over my um, trial, and so they had, hi Shaz, yay, you made it. um, they almost immediately started filing appeals based on whether or not they got a fair trial, because their judge was getting down and dirty by allegedly forcefully with some of the ADAs in the office, some of the female ADAs. And we don't have any confirmation of this yet, but also we heard that there may be some female defense attorneys that he also was allegedly sexually assaulting. So nice guy, right? Really, really good guy, this Henderson jerk. The thing that we're most concerned about, though, is whether or not he was involved with any of these women, sexually assaulting any of these women allegedly, while he was presiding over Daniel's trial. And considering that some of the sexual assaults began, I don't I'm not going to lie, I didn't pull up a bunch of documents and stuff to share with you guys today, but alleged some of these women that he was allegedly assaulting, um, uh, it could have been during the time of Daniel's trial. Um, Now, it gets really interesting, and I know Jack likes to. This is probably Jack's favorite part. Hi, Kelly. Welcome. It's nice to have you here. Predators judging predators. Exactly. Exactly. How horrible is that? Except Daniel's not a predator. So, um, uh, but it was really disgusting, and I know one of Jack's things that he really drives him crazy about the judge is that Henderson in 2017, I believe, or 16, um, had held secret hearings, ex parte hearings, and I need to make sure that everybody is understanding that these secret hearings were exactly that, secret. And by that, I mean that Daniel's defense counsel nor Daniel were ever notified that these secret ex parte meetings had taken place or were going to be taking place. It was about Daniel. The topic or the conversations were being held were about Daniel, but he and his attorney were never notified, never allowed to be a part of the ex parte meetings. They claimed that the judge claimed that the meetings were a matter of personnel information and records, and again another item that we kind of call BS on, because what the claim was that the crime lab analyst, Elaine Taylor, who we've talked about, um, was apparently the topic of these meetings, and her supervisor, whose name was Campbell Ruddock, um, had apparently written, um, as far as we understand or think we understand, although we don't have the evidence because the judge in Daniel's civil case won't allow it to be released, but which is because it's all under seal, and so we don't know for a fact, but during a deposition, Campbell Ruddock said that he um, had reviewed Elaine Taylor's trial testimony over Daniel's trial, and that he did not necessarily give her a glowing review of her trial testimony. And if you remember back to our talk about Elaine Taylor, we know that she's shady AF, and we know that she lied in her testimony. We know, hi, Mobily. We know that not only did she lie, but it doesn't even sound like she really knows exactly what she's doing, and that's very possible. She just when during her deposition with Kathleen Zellner, um, she didn't make a lot of sense sometimes, and she seemed to be very um, rattled by KZ. And so during her deposition, so we know that Campbell Ruddick wrote something in her review over about Daniel's trial that wasn't a great review of her trial testimony. We just don't get to know what that was, and I know that that is something that Daniel's. I know they are, huh? A little few minutes ago, there was no one here, and then T1 showed up, and look at us now. We are rocking and rolling. Thanks, you guys. Um, so it that is why, that's just one reason why it is a big deal. It could be a very big deal to Daniel's case, um, if you know these allegations against the judge are found to be true. Uh, you know, then Daniel's case could very well possibly be another case that gets brought before, you know, up for appeal based on the dirty judge. Um, so what I, like I said, I didn't really pull up any documents, but I did pull up some articles because we went over the documents when this news broke, and we went over the documents to begin with. Um, we didn't. We went over, you know, some of the details and some of the things that were asked for, and uh, just kind of a refresher, really quick. David Prater, who's friends with and used to be a law partner with Judge Henderson, former Judge Henderson, who now is the DA, who's dirty, 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 you guys. David Prater is as dirty as they come, and mean and hateful and just a jackass. And so, but him and Timothy Henderson were law partners together way back in their early attorney days. So, you know, and then Henderson supposedly having serious sexual misconduct with some of Prater's female ADAs, and you know, it just gets a little messy. You need to be keeping your dingling in your pants where it's concerned. You know, your DA's office. That makes for a very it's just a real sketchy. And here we are now in this really sketchy situation because of it. So I will just kind of just start with some of these newspaper articles. Whoops, that's not it. And I won't read them completely, but I'll kind of give you an idea. So in January, that is not the one I wanted to share. In January, there was a now I got it all messed up. January, there was a lady, an old lady, 94-year-old woman. Um, I'll have to look at her name here in just a second. Um, she was assaulted in her home, in a home invasion assault, I guess. And she was assaulted by somebody who had their face hidden and all the, you know, all the normal stuff, right? And so this is going to be a um, kind of a basic article of what happened during this case. And this I'll explain to you in a couple of minutes why this matters and why this is important. So this article was written in Oklahoma News on the 27th of January 2021. There's probably a video there of it, but we won't watch it. I'll put this link in the description. You guys can watch it later if you'd like. But this 94-year-old woman was beaten and left for dead, and her death was the case of was the focus of a 2-day trial testimony against Robert Hashigan. I think I said that right. Hashigan. He was accused of the murder of Evelyn Goodall, who was the the old woman. I said this was January 27th, 2021. This was when the trial began. The murder took place in 2013, obviously. So they had witnesses who included police officers who responded to the call, investigators processed the scene, and talked to some of Goodall's neighbors. And she was the typical neighborhood grandmother to these folks, a really kind, sweet, caring soul. Um, and so her her case went kind of cold for a while. They weren't getting any leads or any information that they could go to point to somebody and then arrest them, for her murder. Um, so whenever I see that um, the police, or, law enforcement and investigators process the crime scene, I just automatically, I'm jaded. I automatically believe, oh, yep, they were up to no good. And maybe they were, and maybe they weren't. I'm not sure who the officers and investigators were. If it was in 2013, it's very likely it could have been Rocky Gregory or Kim Davis or both of them. Who knows? But I don't know enough about her case, this murder case, to know for sure. But when she was beaten and attacked, and it really sounds horrible, but she was beaten so badly that especially being as old as she was, she just struggled to live. She died finally in the hospital 2 days later. But this person who attacked her um, uh, had covered his face with I can't remember exactly what it was, a cloth or a towel. It's been a while since I've read this story, so I apologize for not remembering all the details. Um, but it says here in the article, her body was covered in bruises and duct tape that was used to bind her wrists and ankles and used on her face. Uh, and when it was torn off, it tore vast swaths of her skin off of her body. And I just remember, when my mom passed away when she was 75 years old, and her skin was very translucent, very thin, and she bruised easily. And, she got scrapes, just when she would scratch herself sometimes. And so I can only imagine what this poor woman, being her age, must have looked like, and the pain that she must have been in from this beating that she took. Um, and so, it says before she passed, Goodall told the police that while she was eating breakfast, an intruder burst into her kitchen and began beating her severely before tying up her arms and legs with the tape. She said that that he stacked furniture on top of her to hold her down and keep her in place, and then water, like he like waterboarded her or some shit, because there was water poured on her face, and the attacker was wearing a wig. And so after however many years, from 2013 to 2020, I believe it was, they finally decided that they had a suspect. And that is where we're going to listen to the state talk about how wonderful they were. Whoops. Because they got this DNA evidence on a cold case. And, the state of Oklahoma, they say quite a bit of things that I have no trust or faith in. So let's look at this just a little bit and see what they say. So this article was written on March 1st of 2017. It says DNA leads authorities to a cold case murder suspect. A DNA hit leads U.S. Marshals and members of the Oklahoma City Police Gangs Unit to a suspect in the cold case murder of an elderly woman during a home invasion nearly 4 years ago. Robert Leon Hashigan, 53, was arrested and booked into the Oklahoma County Jail on first-degree murder charges in the 2013 death. Police found Goodall during a welfare check at her home in northwest Oklahoma City. She was brutally attacked, and 2 days after being discovered, she died at the area hospital. A motive for Goodall's assault has not been released, and Hashigan was being held without bond. So I don't know. Even in the Stephen and Brendan's case, we don't trust the DNA, if there even is any DNA. We just we've had bad experiences with DNA lies and whatnot. So it's very much so the same way in Oklahoma County. Only as bad as Stephen and Brendan's case is. Hi, Dr. Silkman. As bad as Dr. Silkman, as bad as Stephen and Brendan's cases are, particularly where DNA lack of DNA evidence is there. I think that Oklahoma's. I don't know. I think they're pretty bad, and they're pretty willing to do all kinds of shady shit to uh, maybe get the outcome that they want, because I certainly believe, and I know the rest of all of Daniel's other supporters believe that they did a lot of shady crap with as far as getting testimony and complaints and DNA and whatnot from Daniel's accusers. So and like I've said before, these guys come from a legacy of Bob Macy and Joyce Gilchrist, so it's already in them to be dirty like that. So they take Hashigan to trial, and let's see what they say about Hashigan. They say all kinds of things about Hashigan, of course. Jury finds Robert Leon Hashigan III guilty of murdering the 94-year-old Oklahoma City woman. So this article will go through the story again, and but on Tuesday, let me see what the date is here. It's February 3rd, this day that this was published, February 3rd of this year, 2021, that his trial was completed, and he was found guilty of the murder, of felony murder, and a commission of a burglary. The jury recommended a sentence of life in prison with parole, but for I'm not sure what the reason is, but Hashigan likely won't live long enough. Oh, because of his age, he's 57, so he likely won't live long enough to ever become eligible for parole. The formal sentencing was scheduled for March 4th before Oklahoma County District Court Judge Timothy Henderson. Now, I know that I don't expect you guys to all remember dates or anything of this, of what happened, but of when these events occurred. But he was sentenced on, or scheduled to be sentenced on March 4th of 2021. The news about Timothy Henderson allegedly seriously sexually assaulting at least three of his ADAs broke, I believe, on March 29th. I think it was the 28th or 29th. And then he resigned, I believe it was on the 1st of April. So this article just kind of talks about, I thought this was so interesting. Are you guys seeing this? I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing. Oh, yeah, you are. Okay. So I think this is very interesting, and this is one of the things that makes me seriously wonder if there's any truth to this particular piece of evidence. Police reported that the tape used in the 2013 attack was a, quote, special kind of duct tape, end quote. And I know that that's a thing. And the article goes on to say that it was used for heating and air conditioning applications, and Hashigan had worked for a business that would give him access to that kind of tape, according to the affidavit. And then, of course, there's witnesses who described Hashigan as a doper, and kind of an oddball and, just kind of different. And they would see him, in the neighborhood or whatever, carrying around weird items after the burglary, including a makeup bag and a hairbrush. And at some points, I believe they said they saw him dressed in women's clothing or something. And, so you got all these witnesses, you know, saying, well, you might want to look at Hashigan because of this. So because he used that kind of tape, you might want to look at him because it was probably him. And he's a doper who's kind of odd. So you probably better look at him. I have no idea. I have not investigated this guy's case, at least in very much detail, because his guilt or innocence isn't my concern necessarily. Um, it's what is done, by the judge that has me more interested in his case. So he had prior records of meth and methamphetamine and weapons charges, and he had arrests that were related to domestic abuse and things like that. And apparently, those are a part of police records. So those aren't very easily denied. He admitted using meth around the time of the killing, um, or so the police reported, and also he also told them that he was a former police officer, having worked in Valley Brook, Meeker, and for a hospital police force. Again, I don't know if that's true or not. So. Um, let's see. So the prosecutors, of course, presented the evidence at trial. DNA analysts testified that Hashigan could not be ruled out as a possible DNA contributor. I also don't know who the analyst was who tested tested the DNA in the case. That's something else I haven't been able to find out, but I'm really curious about, of course. Um, so defense attorneys, now this is going to sound familiar to you guys, possibly. His defense attorneys argued that his DNA could have been transferred to Goodall's house because he visited there several times, and the victim Goodall had frequently borrowed a fan from the house where Hashigan had stayed. So there's possibilities of ways that his DNA could have possibly been transferred. Now, if you remember the investigators and the ADAs and whatnot. Oh gosh, thank goodness Kay's in here. I'm not looking at the chat. I'm trying to stay focused on what I'm doing. Yeah, okay, great. So yeah, she's kind of saying the same thing, that he had been to the house before. So, thank you, Dr. Silkman. We definitely are learning that from things that you talk to us about and that you teach us and things like that. We definitely are learning that DNA doesn't tell a story; people do. So we should be proceeding with caution. And I agree. Um, uh, yeah, but in Oklahoma and apparently in Wisconsin, they just they if they don't find any DNA, they just make it up. So um, that's so again, I said, I don't know any of the details of this story. I just remember reading the case. Uh, Only after the allegations against Henderson came out. So I did try to investigate the case a little bit. I just didn't spend a lot of time because it's another rabbit hole, you guys, and God knows we go down enough rabbit holes as it is. So um, yeah, everybody say hi to Kay. Um, so there we're just very cautious when we're hearing about DNA evidence coming out of the Oklahoma County Crime Lab. We're just not very trusting of it. So yeah, I'm so glad to have Dr. Silkman here too. So Dr. Silkman is saying that DNA evidence is good, but you need another form of Dr. Silkman. Yes, that word, coabulation. Yes, you're absolutely right. We do need something else to corroborate it. God. Um, oh man, if I had seen that before I put it up there, I might not have put it up there. Oh man. Anyway, so we're just really cautious. Well, I'm going to try to see here which ones of my things I wanted to show. Now, AP has done mm, a better job than others, other news outlets, um, of kind of talking about um, the oh, I just completely lost my thought because I'm trying to think of Dr. Silkman being silly. Um, uh, oh, okay, what was I going to say? Anyway, AP has been really the only like outside of Oklahoma news, national news that's really ever touched anything about um, uh, the Henderson affair. And so, but what information that they do get and they do report. Hi, Alice. I hope you start feeling better, hon. I know it's been rough. I didn't share any personal information, but you're welcome to just have a listen. That's just fine. And if at any point you feel like you want to jump in and let off some steam, please let me know, and I'll get you the link. But he oh, there I went and lost my doggone train of thought again. Oh, so anyway, that whatever AP reports, they're usually picking up from the Oklahoman. And I think I told you guys a long, long time ago that the Oklahoman is like the paper in Oklahoma, and they pretty much report in favor of the state, just because of years and years of family ownership and kickbacks and whatever else they might get from the state. The Oklahoman will usually uh, report in favor of the state. But um, I will share with you this little bit. They kind of got to a point, or at least I got the feeling that they got to a point that they kind of, I mean, they had to kind of tell the truth, when they were reporting, because, um, you can't report something different than what everybody else is seeing. And so on just this, and this is the newer information that we've finally gotten, the only movement really in the case since this broke in the spring. And the Oklahoman reported on November 16th of 2021 that the former judge says he was fair in murder cases, despite, well, this one, the Hashigan case, that he was fair in the murder case despite past sexual conduct with prosecutor. Of course he says that. Of course he's going to say that. What is he going to do? Just give an interview to the Oklahoman or to AP or anybody else and say, yeah, you know what? You're right. I was not fair in that trial or any other trial that I was presiding over when I was seriously sexually assaulting allegedly my ADAs. So I'll kind of read this a little bit because this is going to talk about um, the the appeal that Hashigan made right after this news broke. Well, I believe it was, gosh, I don't even think it was a month after the Henderson news broke that Hashigan was filing this appeal. And so Oklahoma County District Judge Tim Henderson has admitted in a written statement to, quote, sexual conduct, end quote, with a prosecutor in his office, in her apartment, and in hotel rooms. That's not how the report was. I read the report to you guys when it broke, and the report was pretty graphic. The statements, the affidavits of two of the victims, of his alleged victims, they were pretty graphic with some pretty, I don't know, it was just disgusting, information that they shared that occurred. But and they were described as, when this news broke, it was described as he was being accused of serious sexual assaults, and by at least two or three ADAs and possibly female defense attorneys. So he calls it sexual conduct with the prosecutor in his office, in her apartment, and in hotel rooms. He denied, though, that their involvement, which ended in 2018, influenced his rulings in a murder case that went to jury trial this year. So, jurors on February 2nd convicted Robert Leon Hashigan of first-degree murder, and he is seeking a new trial because of the secret sexual relationship. The integrity of the judiciary is very much in question here, his attorney, James Lockhart, argued at an evidentiary hearing on Monday. We can't have faith that the verdict is a fair one. And the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals in October ordered the evidentiary hearing and will rule on the new trial request after getting a report. Henderson did not appear at the hearing at the Oklahoma County Courthouse, but his statement was admitted as an exhibit. The married judge abruptly resigned and came under investigation after being accused in March of sexual misconduct. Among his accusers is one of the three prosecutors in the Hashigan case. In a written statement, also admitted as an exhibit, she called their involvement sexual abuse. She said the judge began sexually abusing her in April 2016 and continued until July or August of 2018. So that the trial, Hashigan's trial, definitely falls in that time frame. She also said that he emailed her in 2019 and wrote that he needed to get over it since their relationship had been over for over a year. At issue in the hearing Monday was what impact the judge's involvement with the prosecutor had on his rulings in the case. At all times during the Hashigan case, I maintained my role as a neutral and detached judicial officer, Henderson said. My rulings were fair and supported by the evidence and facts presented by the attorneys. He said he presided over more than 100 jury trials before resigning. None of the jury trials that I have presided over have been reversed for any reason by the Court of Criminal Appeals, he said. And of course not, because they all kind of sleep in the same bed in that part of Oklahoma judicial system. He specifically disputed that the prosecutor accusing him of is a victim of sexual assault or sexual abuse. He said their consensual affair included text, phone calls, emails, and cards from her. He said it also included sexual conduct in my office, in her apartment, and in hotel rooms secured by and paid for by her. Henderson, 63 years old, is a former Edmond police officer, prosecutor, and defense attorney. He became the district judge in Oklahoma County in July 2012 and was widely respected. And I've read plenty of articles where he was widely respected. So was he respected or was he feared? That's the question. That's my question. Let's see. I don't know if I have any. Haven't looked at the chat. Let's see what's going on in here. Let's see. We will come into proper next week. TTM Fangirl loves that part. The podcast proper. Millbilly says, depends on where you obtain your info. Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I'm trying to remember to use the word alleged when I speak, because, I expect that when people talk about Daniel's accusers the same. So no, it's my opinion as well. And Kay says Hashigan's attorney for this hearing that just took place is Daniel's court-appointed attorney for his direct appeal. So we're hoping that we're hoping. Yeah, they are definitely biased, and you're absolutely right. I don't buy anything that mainstream media says in any way, shape, or form but the things that I'm reading to you are things that I also read when this news broke in the affidavits and things as well. So, well, except for the comments by what's his name? Oh, did I see somebody? I did. Cherie. Oh, thank God. Cherie's here, so you don't have to listen to just me. Cherie, talk to the people.
Hello, people. Glad to see you.
I know that Cherie's been doing some reading too. I don't know how long you've been there. I'm so sorry. But
Not long.
Um, she's also been trying to read up on and get information. Have you done any reading about the Hashigan case hearing for the new trial?
Well, just the article that you read, I believe, where
Okay.
Henderson was saying, well, all of my, none of my jury trial outcomes have been overturned, or my judgments or rulings.
Right. How do you feel about that?
Well, like you said, it's because they're all in cahoots, as Barb said.
Yeah, I was just that's how I feel. They all sleep in the same bed, or at least the same bedroom, in my opinion. And I say that, Millbilly, because we've investigated Daniel's case and read so many documents and things that we could get our hands on, that I just believe there's no truth in his conviction whatsoever. There was no truth in the only truth that I can say about the accusers. The only thing that I will admit Daniel was involved in with them is pulling them over on, his community. What did they call that? Community. What's the word? Kay. Community, not community service, but community policing. And so, that's all he did was community policing, and very, very proactive. And that's the only thing that I believe is true about him with his um, oops, I'm trying to put a thing on the screen here, and I'm in the doggone YouTube. Um, that we believe is true. T1 says, we all know, I think that says no. Oh, now. We all owe now. Sorry, T1. That Daniel Holtzclaw's conviction was tied to a much bigger agenda at the time. So what are the chances they will go back or allow this to overturn his case? We don't know. We're just hoping. Um, and so this kind of goes all the way back to the secret hearings. If this is, I had asked Kay, she's got family things going on, so she wasn't going to be able to join us, but I had asked Kay because she explains it so much better than I can, or even Cherie can explain it probably much better than I can. But the reason that those ex parte meetings could be something that could affect Daniel's case, or give an opportunity for him to have a new trial or hearings or something, anything, is I don't know. Cherie, can you explain it? Because I can't put the right words into it.
Well, it was definitely a Brady violation, in my opinion, a huge one. And, Henderson talking about his fair rulings, but, in that case, he only considered the prosecution's arguments. He didn't even look at the when he look at the defense's arguments when he made that decision. So how fair is that,
Right.
about why they should be able to see that information and, and have their experts look at it and all that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And I just was gonna, there clearly there are benefits, right, for Henderson to be really harsh on Hashigan's case, guilty or, like I said, I don't know if he's actually guilty or not. But that, even if he's guilty, that doesn't mean he's not entitled to a fair trial, and I think we all agree with that. So, but there, we have to I'm looking at kind of the bigger picture too. What is the benefit? Who benefits and why and how by Henderson, um, you know, sentencing Daniel. Let's go with Daniel, for instance. That's where we really are concerned. What is the benefit of him sentencing Daniel to all of his sentences? Because remember, he had, oh my gosh, I believe 18 charges that he was convicted of out of the 36. And what would be the benefit of Henderson? I don't know. Ugh, I get so jumbled. So here's the thing. He was sentenced um, consecutively. And so once he finishes the first 30 years, then the next 36 years start. And then the next. And so he obviously, this is, intended to keep him in prison until he dies 3 times, or at least twice, because of his, being sentenced 263 years. So what is the benefit of Henderson doing that when he didn't? I mean, he didn't. First of all, he didn't have to do it consecutively. He could have ran them those sentences concurrently, right? I mean, that's not unheard of. Um, Cherie, right? Am I right?
Oh, yeah. Like in that Gregory Allen case, he had committed a whole new rape that we just found out about, and assault, and they did his consecutively, and it wasn't much of a sentence at that, even. So, but I think that when you talk about the benefit, they were, trying to show the Black community that they don't have to riot because they're tough on people or police that harm Black women. I don't know.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Well, and yeah, I agree with that too. I believe that's also very, very possible, and you're probably, right about that. But at the same time, because of, my mind goes this way. At the same time, did he possibly also have a more personal reason behind running all of that consecutively, and all of those sentences? Because let's say that the ADA, Lori McConnell was the ADA, female ADA on Daniel's case. Let's say, and I don't believe she's come out and made an accusation, but that doesn't mean that she won't, my opinion. But let's just say that, she's blackmailing Henderson and saying, you know what, you better give me what I want, give us what we want on this sentence, or I'm going to out you. I mean, is that like a thing? Is that,
It could very well be, yeah.
and so I think of that too,
Yeah,
because I don't
good
trust
point.
people.
No, me neither.
I don't trust the states. So that was another reason why I thought that they possibly could have been trying to go as harsh as possible, because I won't watch it, or I won't show it, because it's heartbreaking for me to watch it. But and then to read the comments that go with it is just infuriating. It makes me so angry. I literally want to physically hurt somebody. But when Daniel's read all of the convictions, and he's walked up to the judge's bench to be sentenced, and he's just sobbing, because he's being accused of all of these horrific crimes, and he didn't commit them, and now he's going to go to prison, and then he has to listen to that judge, um, saying, giving him all of these really, what is it called when, fair, what is it, when, a law or a guideline that you need to, sentence, you can't sentence somebody, over what is reasonable for the crime or something to that effect. I think it has a name, but I could be wrong. Um, but that's exactly what I feel like Henderson did with Daniel. And yes, to make a point for sure with the, with the Black Lives Matters group, of course, but also, you know, uh, what, I just wonder if there was something more to that, not just that alone. Uh, now I was, I commented on on a news report that I saw, broke back judiciary. Yeah, definitely broke something, broke everything. I read. I was reading. Is I was like Googling 4 times a day Henderson, Henderson, Henderson after the news broke, because the I just wanted to make sure I was getting every new piece of information as it was coming out. And I was reading all of the different news channels and papers and different things, and I remember on one of them, and I don't remember which one it was. I might have been Fox 25, whatever their local Fox station is, but I decided to comment, and I don't remember exactly what my comment was now, but I know whatever it was, somebody responded to me and, told me, a case number, a federal case number. And if I wanted more dirt on Henderson, to look at this federal case. And I was like, oh, it was like, you guys, I felt like Nancy freaking Drew getting getting this information from a unknown source. And, I didn't know the guy's name. I didn't know, well, he had a fake name, but, I was like, oh my gosh. And so, I started digging, and I was able to find the case, that he was referencing. It wasn't easy, but I did find the case. And Henderson has dealings that go back into a probate case, of all things, where he was, helping out a realtor in this probate case, who was, dirty, and stealing, the what was it called, the estate of this woman. It's so, I mean, I went down a rabbit hole for like over a week trying to read this whole case and everything. So, anyway, at the end of the day in that case, um, Henderson is dirty, and there's proof that he was dirty, and that he did favors for this realtor that was, stealing, the estate that was in probate. So, and it goes way back. And this case was, I don't remember if Kay remembers, or Cherie, if you remember what year it was. I want to say it was, I don't remember. It was,
I don't.
I think it was like 2014 or something, if I'm not mistaken, something around that time. Kay says the other thing that is unavailable to Daniel is Campbell Ruddock's review of Elaine Taylor's trial testimony. Even in his deposition, he tried to avoid answering questions about the review. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, in the beginning, that, and the thing that's frustrating about that is that in the deposition, um, the attorney for the city, Campbell Ruddock's attorney, just a jerk, horrible, ugly, horrible, ugly man. And so, they would ask a question. Hankins, I'm not, it wasn't Hankins. It was Johnson, I think. I think Johnson from Kathleen's office. Anyway, he would ask a question, legitimate question about the review of his review of Elaine Taylor's um, trial testimony in Daniel's case, and then the city attorney Richard. Is it
Smith.
Richard Smith? Rick or Richard Smith. I remember because I kept calling him Dick Smith because that's short, right, for Richard.
Right, and it's also fitting.
Yeah, and it fits so well. So, but he would automatically, if it got anywhere near anything that took place, um, I believe so. Okay, I don't know who else it would have been. I think it was Richard Smith that was representing Ruddock or Campbell Ruddock, but anyway, he was, don't answer that. Objection, objection, objection. And from my understanding, you weren't when you're giving a deposition, even if the attorneys are objecting, you still have to answer the question. I mean, let's go back to the depositions in Stephen's 1985 case, right? In Steve Glenn and what's his name, Kelly. They also, whenever they would be questioning one of the deposees, the attorneys would object, and then Steve Glenn or what is the other guy's name? Something Kelly would tell him, you can answer it. Go ahead and answer, because they have to answer the questions, if I'm not mistaken. And Sheree, I don't know how much experience you have with depositions, but is that something that sounds kind of right to you?
I never have done one personally, but I watched and read a lot of them, and I think pretty much 99% of the time. I mean, if it's like privileged or personal, something really personal, maybe not. Like I think when Janie Liggins was asked about her birthday, her attorney said something, objected and said it was too personal or something.
Yeah,
She didn't
you don't
answer.
have to answer personal questions. Yeah, and also they did that with what's her weird face, Blinkwinkle. Yeah,
Kim Davis.
Kim Davis. Thank you. I can't even remember her name anymore. um, so but anyway, other than that, as far as I was understanding, I thought they kind of had to answer the questions, even if the attorneys were objecting. Let's see what T1 says. So if Henderson was so corrupt, maybe he was assigned to rule over Daniel's case intentionally, and if so, by whom? The judge will play ball with our agenda. Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. But again, I don't trust anybody, so I think that's a possibility, though. But I don't. Well, that's why I'm saying I don't. That's why I just get that little dirty part in there of blackmail. Well, you've been having these affairs with these ADAs in my office or the DA's office, so now, because that is a highly unethical and a great degree of inappropriateness and all those things. So now, if you want us to keep this quiet, you better play ball with us. So that's just my very uneducated guess, or opinion. And Kay says the only time you don't have to answer is if the attorney advises not to answer. Right. Well, I remember, I believe it was either Jim Johnson or Kathleen. Um, I remember a back and forth, like a argument back and forth between um, Daniel's attorney and Richard Smith, when Richard Smith told his client, you don't have to answer that. And Jim Johnson or Kathleen, whichever one it was, yes, you do. Just answer the question. No, don't answer that. You have to answer the question. Don't answer the question. And what I remember, because I think I was just reading it or hearing it and thinking, oh my God, I was becoming very uncomfortable because it was this confrontation going on about does he have to answer? Does he not have to answer? So I don't know, but yeah. So anyway, that's this is the whole bad part about why we believe, or why I believe that it could, it could make some sort of a difference. And Jack had made a comment, and I passed it. Now I'm not sure where it's going to be, and I'll probably go back a whole half hour now trying to find it. Jack said something about um, I don't even remember what it was about now, but I remember when I glanced at it, I wanted to show it. Ah, now I can't even see Jack's name in here. Oh, do, 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 do. Sheree. Oh, so simple. He said that the details of this ex parte meetings could be crucial in his humble opinion, and that's my say. I have the same humble opinion, Jack. I don't know if that's just wishful thinking. Now, here's something else, and I don't know if I already said this or not, and I know that I remember Kay reminding me of this earlier, but they claim that the judge and the attorneys, the state basically, and the city, they all go into these ex parte meetings. I think they were over 2 days, and Daniel and his attorney, not only are they not notified, but they also are not even allowed to be there. I think they didn't even know that they occurred until after the last meeting had taken place. And but they said that no, 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 that you didn't need to be there. And two things that they said that really pissed me off, and one of them was, it was just we were just discussing personnel matters um, regarding Elaine Taylor, and then the other thing was nothing that was said in there would have helped Daniel's case anyway. Those two things really pissed me off because, first of all, to Kay's point that she reminded me of, why wasn't Elaine Taylor even allowed? And she claims in her deposition that she didn't even know that the meetings happened until she saw it on the news. I'm calling bullshit, but whatever, it doesn't matter. But she also was not allowed, and I believe it was what day was it, Kay, that she was actually that she retired? Because it was before those meetings, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right? Or Cherie?
I think it was she retired like February 3rd or something. It was like right after
Right
Dave
after the
filed his appeal or something like that, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. I believe so. Um, and so, yeah, so she retires. Um, yeah, right after Daniel filed his appeal, just mysteriously retires. Apparently, well, she did. She retired and said she had her and her husband. It was time because her husband also. Oh, God. So not only does Elaine Taylor work in the crime lab, but her husband also works for some entity in Oklahoma County law enforcement area, and so does her daughter, who was married to Rocky Gregory. But anyway, um, but they didn't even allow her to be a part of those meetings, and they did involve her. But she claims she didn't know anything about the meeting that took place. So, what kind of personnel meeting are you going to have about me that I'm not allowed to be a part of? I mean,
And you don't have a personnel meeting in the court.
in
They
the
don't.
courthouse, exactly. Yes.
It's the city would be doing that.
Yeah. Yep. Um, Well, let's see. I want to make sure I'm getting some of these comments. Um, oh, well, let's start here. Jamie Hart, Mr. License Plate, says, I am completely clueless in this case, even more so than I am clueless in everyday life. Well, you know what? This case is very complex, Jamie. Uh, it's why I have such a hard time presenting any information because, yes, it sure does have family trees like Wisconsin. It's why I have such a hard time presenting information because there's so much to it. And I knew when I first learned about it that I wanted to be a part of, his support team and helping him and doing whatever I could. I had no idea when I took that first bite, what, how deep and how dirty and convoluted it was. I still would have done it, but I might have started I might have started drinking a little bit more beforehand so that I could, at least calm down because it really does become infuriating. And it doesn't matter what piece of information that you're trying to present, you end up in a rabbit hole, or at least I do, because it just goes so deep.
Yep.
Um, So Katie says, we know from Prater's former investigator that Prater had a file on everyone, judges, attorneys, everyone. And she says he's like J. Edgar Hoover. Yeah, he had files, not good files. I would call them blackmail files if it wasn't so judgmental. But Prater's dirty. He's so dirty and hateful. I mean, if you watch an interview with him on their local news, it doesn't matter what they're talking about, what the case is. It's like I'm waiting for him to stroke out on any given interview that he's giving because his face just turns purple and he's so angry and he's just but I guess you kind of get that way when you're keeping dirty secrets and trying to manage so many lies from so many different people. Uh, my opinion again. Um, So, let's see here. Okay, let's see. Another. I did invite Kay to come on with us, but she's kind of sneaking on her phone. I believe she's got a family birthday party going on, and so she said she could try to help us out in chat, but she wouldn't be able to come on. So that's why I'm trying to really pay attention to what she's saying. Henderson had power over everything as he was in charge of the grand jury, and that didn't help either. I forgot about that. Yeah, so he had a lot of power in that whole district, really. And if he got caught with his, what is the hands in the pie or whatever, I probably shouldn't try to say cliche phrases if I don't know exactly what they are, but if you've got dirty dealings going on and you're also that powerful, somebody's going to come for you at some point. I think, and be the one to have the balls to try to share information. I don't know. And then yes, Jack says, look at the shit O'Kelly pulled in Brendan's. Well, yeah, different case. Yeah, I know too, but there are often times that we do compare some of the dirty things that they've done um, because they fit. So. And let's see. Kay says they did rush her right out of there as soon as, as soon as uh, as he filed his appeal. As soon as he filed his appeal, boy, they made sure she was ready to retire because she retired and her husband retired, I believe, around the same time from his position as well.
Yeah, she
Uh,
said, she just knew it was the right time.
yeah, it's just the right time. And the thing about it is we're not given any information, and maybe it is there, but we just don't have it, which is possible. But there was no indication, as far as I've read or found, that was something that was being talked about, her retiring. At any point do I remember reading anything, but again, it could have been in passing conversation, who knows. But yeah, they made sure she retired very quickly, and before those hearings, those ex parte hearings took place. So yes, Oklahoma, for people who don't know very much about Daniel's case or Oklahoma, I almost feel like Oklahoma's worse than Wisconsin. I know that's a pretty bold statement to make, knowing what they've done to Stephen and Brendan. But just like the whole thing with Stephen and Brendan, we can't just go back to 2005. We have to go way back to 1985 and before. The same thing kind of applies in Oklahoma, for different reasons, but still for dirty reasons. So yeah, it's there's a lot of just dirty. And again, if you guys, I'm not going to rehash stuff, but if you really want to know where the dirt started in Oklahoma, in my opinion, it starts with Bob Macy and Joyce Gilchrist, and that's the last time I'm going to say their names tonight. Okay. Millbilly says, just like in the Avery case, they had a mock trial before the pre-trial. Are you saying in Daniel's case? I'm not sure if that's what he means. And so yes, Kay's really good about this, and I always forget, and I shouldn't. But if you don't know very much at all about this case, oh yeah, okay, you said we'll do, Katie. Bates Investigates podcasts are excellent information. At least he does a much better job in explaining, breaking things down than I do. So definitely, if you're just driving around and you need to listen to something, and I'm pretty sure you told me you like to listen to different stuff, Jamie, check out Bates podcast, because you might get hooked on it a little bit. I could be wrong. T1 says, hell, they may have had a mock crime scene in the Avery case, as far as we know. Cuss Road, Xander Road. Yeah, you're right. We've been to Xander Road, right, Cherie, and to Cuss Road, and we feel like we're big shots now.
Oh, I don't know about that,
but it really was. I mean, just for a second here, we did find being on Cuss Road very, very fascinating, haunting in a way, creepy
kind of
in a
eerie.
way. Eerie, that's the word, yeah. And then, being able to see down that path that we couldn't go down, I was just like, oh, I wanted to go down that little dark hidden path so bad, but we couldn't because it's private property.
Leo would be chasing us on his
Yeah,
Ford.
we didn't want Leo chasing after us. Dr. Silkman says, like Stephen's and Brendan's case, Daniel's case has massive political overtones. Absolutely. This is not going to be easy to overturn due to the political blowback to so many people, including the victims. Yeah, I agree. It's going to be some time, but maybe we'll get lucky, just like Stephen and Brendan might get lucky that somebody will start speaking. So let's see. Dr. Silkman offers, no one is like Hoover unless he was cross-dressing like Hoover was. Oh, I know. That's funny. Yes, Kay, I appreciate you so much. You probably already left, but please go back to your birthday party. I really appreciate you coming and helping me out in chat. You're just so much better with putting everything in a nice, neat little package better than I am. So thank you for helping us out. Yes, Dr. Silkman, too much power equals corruption. It's like those go hand in hand. And so I agree with that. T1 says, did you blow out their candles before they did? If not, you're good. So you're, as far as T1's concerned, if you didn't blow out the candles, you're in fine shape, Kay. Oh my goodness. We need T1 all the time because we always need to laugh about some stuff when we start getting so serious. Kay says that Henderson shuffled cases into Judge Hess's court in Canadian County that he wanted to be handled quietly. Yes, and that. Thank you, Kay. That reminds me that. So Judge Henderson had a son named Cameron. Sorry, I'm gulping water. I apologize. Cherie, how much do you remember about Cameron Henderson and his?
Not a lot. I remember he got in a lot of, had a lot of issues. Wasn't he a police officer for a short time? But he kept getting in trouble. So maybe I'm dreaming that. I don't know.
A deputy, a sheriff's deputy or something like that. I think you're right.
Oh.
That does sound right. But he was a bad boy. He was an outlaw. So to Kay's comment that Henderson shuffled cases into Hess's county or Hess's court, and yes, I believe that Hess is the one who is doing the trial, that you were talking about, Hashigan. So Henderson's son had many different maybe drug. I don't know for sure drugs, but alcohol charges, and he had weapons charges while under the influence of alcohol. I think he was a cop because I feel like I remember. I feel like I remember him getting a charge or catching a charge over being drunk or drinking, DUI in his patrol car, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, he was always getting tickets and going to court, and so I think that's what Kay's referring to when she says that he was trying to get cases shuffled to Canadian County so they could be handled quietly by Judge Hess. I think that's partly what she might be referring to, because he's the judge and he's got a son who's a screw up, always getting in trouble with the law, and you can't have a judge who oversees the grand jury and who's well respected in his county, who's got a son who's screwing up like that with the law all the time. And so, he would have Judge Hess, hear those cases. Now, at some point, I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 2014. Cameron Henderson died mysteriously. And so I think, Kay, I don't remember if they decided that, it's been a long time since I read about that. I don't know but he was found under very suspicious circumstances. And I know that they discussed suicide, that he may have committed suicide, if I'm not mistaken. T1, nothing like shaking the shit out of someone else's gifts. And then Kay says, no, but I'm eating the damn cake. Me too. Save a piece for me. But he died mysteriously. They found him at it wasn't like a really like a construction site, I don't think, but I know that there was big, heavy construction type machinery there. I probably shouldn't say too much because I don't remember all of the details, but I do know that it was they found him dead, and I think that was also hushed up. I think it was. I mean, it sounded like it could very well have been a drug overdose or a drug deal gone bad, possibly. So I don't really know for sure exactly what the outcome was, but I know that Henderson, wanted that kept quiet too. The details of his son's death. Kay says, Dr. Silkman, you're right about the massive overtones. People don't realize it probably goes all the way to City Hall. The MAPS project was going full steam ahead. Yeah. Yeah, I think oh yeah, there it is. Cherie, why didn't you just put it in the doggone chat? You silly girl. Let's see if I can put it in the chat. Here's Cherie's so great. She's always able to get stuff really quick and have it ready. So there's a newspaper article about Henderson's son's death. And if you want, you can read that. You'll probably get some more, different, better, more accurate information than just me trying to remember shit. So there's that, and then this is yes, he was a law enforcement officer. Henderson's son Cameron was. So thank you so much, Cherie, for getting those. So anyway, we know that Henderson's not above being sneaky. Now, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I don't know. I might also kind of feel like, I didn't want my son's business or my family's business all up in the court where I work. But at the same time, you have to follow the rules. You have to follow the laws, whether you like it or not. And if his son's cases were in Oklahoma County, then that's where they needed to stay. The only thing Henderson had to do at that part was just recuse himself in case anything happened to go, get assigned to him that involved his son. Yeah. So, and thank you, Kay, for that comment as well. They didn't want Oklahoma didn't want all their improvements and future plans to end up destroyed like Ferguson. And I think you're talking about Bricktown, if I'm not mistaken. Kay, in one of our podcasts that we did a long time ago, we talked about Bricktown and the money that was put into building this. I don't really even know how to explain it. An outside mall with like an extravagant outside mall or something. It was a big, very costly project that they had done to try to improve that area of Oklahoma County. And rioting would have been bad for that plan for them for their Bricktown Plaza or whatever it was called. Yeah, Cameron, Judge Henderson's son, was an embarrassment to him. Sure he was. That's like if I was a Sunday school teacher and my kids were the only ones running around the church house acting like little assholes, that's an embarrassment to me. But for Henderson, I'm sure it was quite a bit different with his son. So anyway, so we are anxiously awaiting to see what what is going to come of this. What has been frustrating is that while this is just moving so slowly, it's going so slowly, and part of me thinks that's good. If they're going slow, then they must be being very thorough. But then reality hits me back in the head again and says, no, if they're going so slow, they're working really hard to cover shit up. But I don't know that, but I can't just ever be, fair and unbiased. I always have to put my little suspect hat on. So yeah, rioting would have been devastating to the economy. It would have been as devastating as the Oklahoma City bombing. And they'd already had that tragedy and, that cleanup and that rebuilding. and for the rioting to begin. And it's so irritating because Kim Davis and Rocky Gregory tell Michelle Malkin, oh no, we didn't have a race problem in Oklahoma. No, we didn't have anything like that going on in Oklahoma County. No, our people, our Oklahoma County people are really good people. I'm sure they are, but there's always the seedy side, right?
Just like they don't have touch DNA.
Right. Yes. I love talking about that, especially when Dr. Silkman's around. But because, it's always a touchy subject. And I get really pissed off at Giger. All right. Thank you so much, T1, for hanging out and for coming back. And, don't stay away so long. You need to come and hang out more and, give us all a little chuckle now and then. So thank you so much for all your comments and questions, even the silly, fun ones. Those are the most important ones. Have a good night, T1. MLR. So anyway, Judge Henderson, let's just take, here's another, for instance, during Daniel's trial, there was this, they had all of the Black Lives Matters people down below. I think, were they on the second or third floor? And the jury could hear them chanting, give him life. I can't remember all their chants now, but really ugly, hateful, mean chants, which is what protesters do. I get it. But they could see, the jury could hear them chanting. And Scott Adams, even at one point, said, Judge, he was trying to do a cross-examination or something. And he finally told the judge, if I can't hear what my thoughts of what I want to, say to this witness or ask this witness, how can the jury be, thanks, Millbilly. Yeah. Hit the like button on your way out. How can the jury not be hearing all of these, cries for conviction? So, they just had to have been hearing that stuff. And Judge Henderson, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was in the trial transcript, if I remember correctly, said something, to the effect like, ask the jury, is the chanting too loud? Is it bothering you? Can you hear it? And, and this was all done right there in the courtroom during the trial. And I guess they all said, nope, everything's fine. But we know it wasn't fine because we also know that, there were Black Lives Matter members in the courtroom taking photos on their phones. Judge Henderson did throw one out and confiscated the phone. But in fact, it was the brother of one of the witnesses, I think Janie Liggins' boyfriend's brother, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, but the judge didn't, he didn't do anything to really, ask the protesters to go across the street, for instance, or, they had their permit for right there on the sidewalk, on the, right below the window of where they were in court. And so, and also, Scott Adams had asked for a change of venue for the trial because it had had so much publicity by this point, and we all know how the media is. And so he wanted a change of venue, and that was denied. And that's not uncommon. I mean, there's lots of trials where the judges deny a change of venue. I get it. But, I'd like to think that if they're being truly using their discretion wisely, that they would, agree. They also didn't sequester the jury, like was asked, I think, until deliberations. But they weren't sequestered, as Daniel, asked to have them sequestered, and that wasn't allowed. Kay says, look up some of the state of the city of Oklahoma address Mayor Mick Cornett will tell you exactly what the city was proud of and what was in the pipeline. She says the 2015 speech will talk about everything from 2014. That's good information. Interesting. So anyway, I believe Daniel's defense team believes that there is some sort of cause for, something to come of Henderson's alleged serious sexual assaults. Now, we might not be hearing anything now, but if they do finally bring charges against him and he is indicted, then I think, anybody who's, because there's also another case. Oh my gosh. There's another case, though, that is also wanting to be retried for the same kind of reasons. And I remember the night that this stuff broke, and I made a video. I recorded the video, and God knows where it is now because it disappeared into Never Never Land. But there was an attorney, and I think I have I believe that I have I think I do. I believe I have some information. I'll make it sound like it's all hush hush. It's not. Somebody, let me see. I'm going to share this. This was a public comment made on one of the news. Well, maybe I'm not. I don't know if I can show this or not. Oh, there it is. Somebody made a public comment on one of the news articles on April 1st, 2021. So this was the day, I believe that it was, that Henderson finally resigned. This comment is: the Oklahoma governor's general counsel and the attorney general, who at the time was Mike Hunter, were both made aware 2 years ago that Timothy Henderson was involved in an affair with Kelly Collins, who was an ADA, and was incredibly unethical and corrupt. The attorney general investigated and were given concrete proof of Henderson having overtly acted to facilitate a crime, but did nothing because that office was prosecuting cases through Henderson's court. It was also disclosed that Henderson misused courthouse sheriffs to help a crooked attorney named Rose Simmons steal part of a probate estate in the case number after Simmons committed perjury and embezzlement and lied to the court about a false auction having occurred at his law office. And this is the case I was telling you about earlier. Simmons had done a fundraiser for Henderson, and Henderson allowed for him to use the courthouse sheriffs to harass family members who exposed Simmons's theft of the estate. Unfortunately, the taxpayers will have to pay to reopen and reinvestigate all of Henderson's cases, both civil and criminal. The Supreme Court has been made aware that the DA, David Prater, who was a law partner of Henderson, is conflicted, as is the Attorney General. And that was in like I said, a comment. Why can't I get it's not letting me go back to my, there we are. I don't know, I guess that didn't show, huh? Sorry about that. Henderson, that was the one that I was telling you about where Henderson had, helped the dirty players in in that probate case. And I did try to read a lot of that stuff. That was all found on oscn.net, which is Oklahoma's site where you can look up court cases and stuff. That was another rabbit hole, but it was just in an effort to try to find, what Henderson had been a part of, and he definitely had done some unethical, illegal things. So Dr. Silkman says, once you are judged by the media and the public court, you are doomed. The state delivered the sacrificial lamb, Daniel, to appease the public outcry. If Daniel was found not guilty, the city burns. Yes, that's, yeah, absolutely. And because Kay lives in Oklahoma, not Oklahoma City, but, close enough, she was aware that, that was the atmosphere of the time. And so, yeah, she did too. That's right. She absolutely said, if he's found guilty, we're going to be rioting, not protesting, rioting. So there's a big difference. So yeah, it was horrendous, what they've done to Daniel and what they're getting away with so far. So what we know as of right now about Henderson and his case is that there's still no charges, no official charges. There have been search warrants for all of his emails, all of his phone numbers, all of his text messages, everything that that they think that they're going to find information about these serious sexual assault charges. And I don't remember where I read it, so it might just be my imagination. So please know that. But I thought that I had read somewhere in one of those affidavits or something that Henderson submitted, or that his attorney claimed that emails and text messages have already been deleted. And wherever I think I read or heard that, I remember thinking at the time, well, that's stupid. That's a stupid thing to say. That's what forensics are for, technology forensics are for. And, they are able to pick, to find that kind of stuff. It might take time, but they are able to find that kind of stuff, even if it's been deleted. And, I think even at the time of Stephen and Brendan's case, uh, um, that, oh, I'll have to respond to that later. That, um, they were able to get information even then. In 2005, they could find stuff. Well, clearly, we got the Bealey CDs and we got all kinds of that, this, that, and the other. So clearly we know they can. But, I feel like that was kind of I don't know if they just think that the average reader of that article or wherever it was that I read that was just plain stupid, or if they really believe that. And I think it was his attorney that claimed it. I'm going to find that I'm going to have to find that and post it sometime, because it's really frustrating that they're just like, and besides that, because it was the attitude, and his attorney's attitude, Henderson's attorney's attitude is very much like this. And besides, those have all been deleted anyway. So, so she's just really kind of cocky and arrogant and, thinks she's going to win this big case, and maybe she will. I don't know. But he claims but that was the search warrant, that all of those things be retained, not be deleted, not be altered in any way. They also obtained a search warrant for buccal swabs for Henderson. And he's got some, there are some, his accusers have some really disgusting stories to tell about what types of his DNA would be found and where. It's, just think Monica Lewinsky in the blue dress, just that, and worse, if you can imagine. So, that's basically what's going on right now with Henderson. So, we've got the two cases that, the murder cases, who the attorneys, yeah, oh my God. Yeah, I know. Okay, you guys have already probably read it, but I'm going to put this up here on the chat, on the wall here, or whatever it's called. The final search warrant is still, wait for it, sealed, and it probably will always stay sealed. We know. I mean, just like those Jody and those Jody calls, we're never going to get those Jody calls at least anytime soon. And the same, the final search warrant. I'm dying to know what's in that final search warrant, because it seems to me if they felt like they needed to seal it, there's probably something pretty telling that they're going to be looking for in it. So anyway, that's where we're at. We've got these two cases who are wanting to get new trials based on Henderson's misconduct at the time of their trials and their sentencings, and the search warrants that have been issued. And I believe the evidence is, the stuff that they were looking for has been obtained. And now we're waiting for charges to be brought, and the FBI, the OSBI, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations. God, no wonder they call it OSBI. That's a mouthful. They have taken over the investigation, and then David Prater, the DA, because he's such a good man. Oh, yeah. That's right. I remember that. Oh, wait, I got to go back to Dr. Silkman's comment first. Dr. Silkman's going to head out. Yeah, great to see you. Thank you so much for coming and helping and adding to the discussion, Dr. Silkman. He says, this case does my head in. So sad and disgraceful. Only in America. You're right. I hope so. I mean, it needs to be fixed, but it's that's a whole other topic that I'm not going to start on. So thank you, Dr. Silkman. I really appreciate you coming and contributing. And so Kay says that the search warrant is for his chambers and the courtroom, looking for DNA where the women said they would find it. Again, I'll go back to the blue dress, Monica Lewinsky's blue dress. And I believe in Henderson's case, there's a sweater involved in a closet. And I believe there's a section of carpet below a sofa or something. And I believe there's something behind his bench in the courtroom. It's been a long time since I read what they were going to be looking for or what the accuser said. But yeah, so yeah, disgusting and gross. It's a jacket and his robe. Yeah. I forgot about that. The robe. God, that's so foul and disgusting. And then I can't help it, you guys. Maybe I'm perverted. I mean, it's possible. Stranger things have been said about me, but I can't help it. When I heard that, I thought, oh God, he probably had like some power trip going on and had to be in his robe, because some of these women also claim that there was a handgun that was behind at his bench and in his office. I mean, he would move it from place to place apparently, and that he used it to threaten apparently. So again, those are things that were being searched for, but we don't know what the outcome is. So we probably won't unless we get to trial with it somehow. So yes, Jack, I agree. Henderson has been a bad boy for a very long time. And while he's being bad, he's blame shift, or what is it called? Blame shifting. He's trying to make people like Daniel and Hashigan and I can't remember what the other guy's last name was, but him. Oh God. Yeah, you would think. So it's really is creepy and scary that somebody can get away with what he's been getting away with. Because here's my line of thinking: if he's doing this as a judge, allegedly doing this as a judge who presides over the grand jury, and his early career was as a cop, a law enforcement officer, and then as a prosecutor and a DA. I hold no hope that he was completely truthful, honest, and ethical in those other positions, because he didn't just wake up after he became a judge and start doing this nasty crap. My opinion. So, wow, that was a lot more information than I expected to share tonight. Cherie, you just got to butt in and let me, say, did you got something to add? Because I always take over.
Well, I think you covered it pretty well. Did I read something about going to it might be going to the multi-county grand jury? Was that the case? His case, or was it another case?
Um,
It was to do with, you know, either the two, but I don't think they would go, the two cases they were looking at, I don't think they would go to the grand jury, but
no,
so it must be him.
it
Maybe
must be him, because
either
now that you,
I dreamed it.
well, I believe I dream a lot of things too. So, oh, wow. What was in your punch at the birthday party, Kay? Photoshop his head onto an old man's saggy body and put some red, white, and blue bikinis on him. Oh, God. Listen, I love America, and I just can't imagine disparaging America in that way. That's gross. Oh man, that is. And you know what? Because when you say things like that, I like get the images now actually in my head. Like I can't unsee that now.
Me too.
Oh man. But yeah, it seems like I remember seeing something like that, Cherie, and I'm not. I would have had to have been a. Yes, I know. I saw that. I dare say he didn't just get his behavior when he became a judge. No different than Ken the Prize Kratz. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, he may have already had those behaviors, and maybe they weren't quite as overt and foul and disgusting. And maybe once he became a judge, he felt more powerful and more, narcissistic, and I'm powerful and I can get away with anything. And maybe that's how it got to where it is today. But yeah, I believe he was probably, the accusations that they're putting on Daniel during his stops and things like that, which we know are false. Now I have, when I found out that Henderson had been a cop, I thought, oh my God, it probably was like old home week to him, hearing all those nasty lies and testimonies at the time. So, yes, that is anybody who lives in Oklahoma, and I know it's probably just Kay at this point, but anybody who lives in Oklahoma, please. Uh, just get to someplace and sign this petition, because they have and I think they have well over the amount of signatures that they needed, but they plan to try to have him investigated for his abuse of power. um, so when that couple of weeks before Julius's hearing, I was reading that in the, people were tweeting it, people that lived there and that were supporting Julius were tweeting that they had, and they were tweeting out locations where they were going to be and for how long and everything, so that people could go and sign. And I kept telling them every time I'd see one, I would, if I lived there, I would be there. I would already signed it, but I can't. So I just have to kind of, ask everybody who might see this video at some point to please, if you live in Oklahoma County, find somebody and sign that petition, because he's out of office next year. He's not running again, but his protege, Galen Giger, is. So. And also, who is running for the DA seat is Daniel's co-counsel in his trial, and I can't remember his name. Gray, Corey Gray, or something like that. So, but just because Prater's not going to be in office next year, we can't let it be. We cannot let it be Galen Gigger. So if you know somebody who lives in the area somewhere in Oklahoma County, please share that information that there's a petition. And I don't know who necessarily, but they can get in touch with anybody who is involved in Julius's case. So, and I understand today, Kay, that Oklahoma, or that there was another death row inmate who's, I think, being scheduled to be executed at the end of January or sometime in February, and he had his clemency. Robert Gray, yeah, had his clemency hearing today, and he was not granted clemency. Well, I guess the board, the P and PB didn't grant or didn't recommend clemency or something. So there will be at least, I believe, the rest of these men are going to be executed in Oklahoma. There's 7 of them, 6 of them that are right on the chopping block, or that was bad, right on the scheduled, already have dates. And I have a feeling that none of them are going to, and I don't know their cases or anything either. So, I can't say, but it's not about whether they're guilty or innocent. It's just that I no longer support or believe in the death penalty. So, okay. So Cherie linked an article. This is the article that says Henderson's case will be going before a multi-county grand jury. So yeah, that must have been where I read it too then. Thank you for sharing that link. So that's kind of where we are with Henderson. Like I said, we kind of got some gross, dirty, nasty details about what his accusers, are alleging. And unfortunately, I can just kind of see it now because of how narcissistic and powerful he must feel like he is or was. I keep watching an oscn.net to see if I can, see anything about charges. But I believe, and you guys, Kay and Cherie, will have to correct me, but because it's being investigated by OSBI, oh yeah, that's what and he's not any better. Henderson's other buddy, Judge Elliott, runs the grand jury now. So, who knows? I mean, this may not go anywhere because they are all just, like I said in the beginning, they're all just sleeping in the same damn bed. So, but we have to keep the faith, keep the hope, keep working, keep focusing on Daniel and doing the investigating and the digging that we can do, as much as we can, and try to help his case, help his attorney with his case. He's one man. I don't believe his attorney has an assistant. I nominated, some of us nominated Kay. I don't think she accepted the nomination, but she would be great at it. She's got a pretty good understanding of how all that stuff works and, things that should be presented and things. So, I think she'd be great at it. But that's not the kind of job you necessarily volunteer for. But, his attorney's doing all of this work on his own by himself without a real dedicated assistant, to help him with just Daniel's case. So, if there's, anything that we can do, trying to investigate and dig and, finding stuff, we try to do what we can. Before I go, and there's still enough of you in here that can spread this word for me, Daniel's birthday is in 9 days. And it's also been 5 years ago on his birthday. Is it 5 years? On his birthday, he was convicted on December 2015.
6.
6 years on his birthday. It'll be 6 years that he was convicted and sentenced to prison. Please go to my Discord, find the Letters to Daniel room, his address is in there, or you can get a message or something to myself or Cherie or even Kay, I'm sure. If you want, Shaz emailed a letter to me a couple of weeks ago that I sent to Daniel for her. I'm happy to do that for you guys if that's the easiest way for you to get a message or a letter or a birthday card to Daniel on his birthday, December 10th. So that's what I'm going to leave you with tonight is Daniel's birthday is in 9 days. Please take 5 minutes out of any day this week, in the next couple of days, to send some sort of a birthday note to Daniel before his birthday on December 10th. That's all I have. It's a lot more than I thought I was going to have, Cherie. I know I pretty well wrapped it up and said it all, but please say something.
Keep talking about it, about wrongful convictions, Daniel and Stephen and Brendan.
That's right. And I just have to say hello to my friend UB Chillin 909. How are you doing? Thanks for popping into my show tonight. I really appreciate it. I haven't lately with all of the other ugly things that have been going on in my life, but Catnip, hey, how are you, girl? I'm glad to see you here too. But you be chillin' 909. I got really, really, really involved in like hooked on watching First Amendment audit videos. There are some amazing First Amendment auditors out there. And I'm telling you what, I've learned a lot from them. And, these guys that are going out there and doing these First Amendment audits, and I don't know if you guys in the chat know what those are, a First Amendment audit, but they're men and women who are going to just any kind of really anywhere in their communities or their cities or counties, and they are doing audits for post offices or public buildings, where we're allowed to go and we're allowed to take videos and we're allowed to take pictures, and because they're public areas and they're exercising their First Amendment right. And I'm telling you what, people just don't like it when they see people with a camera in a post office or there are lots of auditors in Oklahoma City, Kay. But anyway, and that's what they do. And a lot of people think, and there are some who do this, but a lot of people think that these auditors go out and they um, uh, antagonize law enforcement officers, for instance, or workers, in the post offices, or any of these public buildings. And some of them do. I will admit, some of them do, and I don't usually watch those guys anymore. I've kind of weeded my preference of channels that I watch. And I only watch the ones like what UB Chillin is saying right now, government facilities that we have access in public places, and where we are allowed to take video, and we are allowed to. You be chillin'. I've got a friend who's asking if there are any auditors in Oklahoma City. I know there are, but if you know of any particular names, will you just drop them in my comments for me? Um, I don't watch does either. What are you saying? I don't know what you're saying. But anyway, yes, and Jack, and that was where I first got involved, was in Audit the Auditors. But then I found out that there's a whole movement that is really, really exploding. And it's been going on for 10, 15 years. But it's just something that I just learned about in the last 8 or 9 months by starting with Audit the Auditors. And then I started moving on to some of these others. And wow, I'm telling you what, I learned a lot about my First Amendment rights that that I didn't know, that I didn't understand. And wow, I only am watching the guys and girls that I trust and that I know have done their homework, and they're doing everything legally, and they aren't antagonizing, because I don't like that. I don't like confrontation, and so I don't like to watch the ones who intentionally antagonize. If one of the calmer, more decent Long Island audits is a great guy, he's just so calm and so, um, uh, they those are the ones who are just going in and trying to take pictures or photographs in their post office for what they don't even have to have a reason, is the whole thing. But just to express that you can is a pretty big deal, because people don't like it. They don't like when they see you walking around with a video camera. Cherie, I have a story, right? um,
I do.
and yeah, and I do have a story, and I was going to submit it to one of the auditors, to one of my that I usually watch, and let them, share it for me. But I don't want to give out too many details, because it was really, really upsetting to the person that we were with. But I knew that I wasn't breaking the law when I went to where I did, and I was taking video. I knew I wasn't breaking the law, and I knew that I was allowed to do what I was doing. And it was, no, yeah, I knew that, but it was a very uncomfortable situation for someone that I was with. And so I didn't press it, but I told the law enforcement officers who approached me where I was taking the video, um, they told me that I couldn't. Um, and so I said, well, this is public property, right? And they said yes. And I said, and this is a public facility, right? Yes. And I said, and so you've got people parked out here in the parking lot, and they're going in, and I'm sure they're taking photographs, and in place in certain areas, and and yes. And I said, so then I'm perfectly fine to videotape the outside of this facility, because it was really beautiful grounds, honestly. And they said, well, but they did, UB Chillin, they did what they do. They were making excuses of why I couldn't be there, taking video, and because of, security reasons, and this and that and the other thing. And I was like, but yeah, but I said, even if I wanted to walk through this parking lot, and I wasn't a bitch, I wasn't being bitchy, I was being very calm and respectful. But I thought, you know what, I have an opportunity to stand up for my First Amendment rights. And even though I'm not a First Amendment auditor, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna grow a pair, and I'm gonna do it. And so I did. And they told me, you're going to have to stop recording, or we're going to have to call law enforcement. And I said, or you're going to have to leave, or we're going to call law enforcement. And I said, well, this is not what I'm here for today. So I am not going to push this. I don't remember all my words. It's been a while. I am not going to push the issue, but I just want you guys to know that I know my rights. I know my First Amendment rights, and I know that I have a right to be here taking video. This is public property. And even if I wanted to walk through those doors and take video, up to those doors and take video, I can do it. And no, ma'am, you're not allowed to do it. And I said, well, like I said, this is not what I'm here for today, but I want you to know. So I'm leaving, but I want you to know that I know my rights, and I know I'm allowed to be here doing what I'm doing. And I was just like, ah. And if I had been in a different situation, I would have went the whole route with them. I would have let them call law enforcement. And then if they arrested me, then I was going to be, they were going to be breaking my civil rights. So,
We'd have to get bail
violating them.
money.
Huh?
We'd have to get bail money.
They'd have to. Yeah. So anyway, so you be chilling. You should maybe be proud of me for that. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it, but I've learned a lot from you guys who do it and do it the right way. And so I felt really empowered to, to stand up for not only my First Amendment rights, but for everybody else's, because I, I mean, all we have to do is, read a newspaper article or something on the internet, or catch, a few minutes of the news, and we can see that our First Amendment rights are being, uh, I used to say chipped at so slowly that we couldn't really recognize it, but now I feel like it's even more brazen. And you know, I will never, I'll never, um, not fight for my First Amendment rights if I'm in a situation, and neither should any of you in my chat. You be chilling. I think he's going to try to drop some auditors from Oklahoma City in my comments. And um, so until the next time, I think next week we might be talking about David Prater. Um, and so until next time, thank you all so much for being here. I had a really good audience tonight, and everybody stuck around for most of the time. And I really appreciate you guys, for being here and supporting, not me, but supporting Daniel. And December 10th, get me some information, get a card, get a letter ready. Cherie put the address in the chat, and let's remember Daniel on his birthday. Um, so until next time, peace out.
Bye.